Hi, I'm Supervisor Don Knabe, and I'm pleased to welcome you back to another episode of Dialed In. It's officially fall here in Los Angeles County. The air is crisper, the lights go on early, and that means one thing. It is football season. This season is a very special one for our region as our beloved Rams have returned home to Los Angeles. After a whirlwind offseason, the St. Louis Rams packed their bags and headed west to the city that they called home for 50 years. With a new stadium under development in the city of Inglewood and a fired-up fan base of longtime fans, the future is bright for our Los Angeles Rams. This month, I'm excited to welcome Inglewood's Mayor James Butts and Jake By from your Los Angeles Rams. I hope you'll enjoy the show.
Maybe he's really focused.
Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.
Preoccupation with objects is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today.
You!
Your fault.
My fault?
Your fault.
You're right.
What?
It's my fault.
What do you mean your fault?
You're right, it's my fault. Maybe both of us?
Maybe just you.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try.
My first guest today is James Butts, Mayor of the City of Inglewood. The City of Inglewood will become the new home of our Los Angeles Rams in 2019 when they celebrate the grand opening of the new stadium. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you for being here today.
Mr. Supervisor, it's a pleasure to be here with you.
So, who's your favorite team?
The Los Angeles Rams of Inglewood.
The Los Angeles Rams of Inglewood. All right. We're going to go through the California Angels, the LA Angels, the Anaheim Angels.
Absolutely.
I love it. You know, all of us here in the region understand that. You know, you do all the work, and the city of LA gets the credit for the team. But, you know, how did the Rams get to Inglewood?
You know, it's really interesting. As you know, they had an arrangement in St. Louis that at a certain point the city would be responsible for improvements to the stadium. And at that time, they came to a disagreement. They went to court 3 times, and the judge or arbitrator allowed the Rams to exercise their option to lease for a year while they sought a relocation. And that's when everything started. For a team to move, three things have to happen. First, you have to have an owner that wants to move to a location. Second, you have to have a location that has sufficient land mass so that you can locate a team and parking there. And third, you have to have the financing to do it. And ultimately, 75% of the owners, 24 of the 32, have to vote to allow the relocation. And that is no small task. And at the same time that the Rams declared their intention to try and occupy the LA market, the San Diego Chargers partnered with the Oakland Raiders, and they declared their interest in a site in Carson. And it culminated in a 2.5-year basically media and political war in the NFL that ended up with the final vote being 30-2 to allow the Rams to move to Inglewood.
Well, someone like myself who's been around a while, I was originally on the team that tried to bring an NFL team back to the Coliseum many years ago. And I remember meeting with the NFL owners, and it's no simple deal to deal with them. I mean, it's wealth at a different level, and you know, it's their own backyards, and how they cut a deal. They don't want anything to harm with the deal that they have with the city that they exist in. So, you've been in office, what, 6 years as mayor?
6 years as mayor.
And probably 3/4 of that you've been trying to lure the Rams, haven't you? I mean,
actually, you know, it started with talking to Mark Davis and the Raiders in 2012, and all those components I mentioned earlier, they just weren't there. And then about a little over 2.5 years ago, met with Stan Kroenke, and all those components were there to give us a fighting chance, and fight we did.
Oh, yes, you did.
Yes, we did.
And you had a smile on your face most of the time. All right, so tell us why. You mentioned it briefly in the opening there, but why is Inglewood and Hollywood Park, you know, really the ideal place for the NFL? And I go back because there was a time that Inglewood was always listed, the Hollywood Park piece being part of an NFL process, but they were worried about landing patterns at LAX. So how did you overcome that?
Well, that's interesting. You see, actually, that site had been entitled to be a mixed-use development that the Hollywood Park Land Company, which was financed by Stockbridge Capital, was going to use all but the 60 acres that belonged to Walmart at that time. Walmart attempted to open a store there, and by initiative, and that initiative failed. The housing market crashed, the recession came, and although the Hollywood Park Tomorrow project had been entitled back in 2008, there was no capital money to do it.
That was not a time to spend money.
Nobody was going to buy houses. There were supposed to be 3,000 houses at that time, and remember all the housing financing collapsed. So they sat dormant until I came into office. When I came into office, we negotiated with Madison Square Garden. They invested $100 million in the Forum. The Forum, within less than a year, became the #1 concert venue in the greater LA area. Today, they're #1 in the state in concerts booked, #2 in the country, and #4 in the world.
And incredible sound system.
Incredible sound system. $100 million buys a lot of speakers. But then came Stan Kroenke, who showed interest in the Walmart site. And then you said, why Inglewood? Well, in total, that total development, it encompasses about 298 acres. And to put that in perspective, it's twice as big as Vatican City, 3 times as large as Century City. So if you continued with the original concept but expanded it to have, it's going to have close to 1 million square feet of grade A office, close to 900,000 square feet of dining, restaurants, and retail, a movie theater, 350 key hotel, 4 public parks, about 26 acres, 2 lakes. Now you have a city within a city, and then you top that off with the largest, most modern arena in the world, 3 million square feet, and a 6,000 seat performing arts theater. You can see what you have is more than just a football stadium that sits dormant 355 days a year. You actually have a living entertainment destination 365 days a year. So for the NFL's purposes, since it's all about revenue sharing, there was really no comparison between Inglewood and the Carson site because there were so many more upsides.
And had existing facilities. You have the Hollywood Park Casino, you have the Forum, everything else in place.
In actuality, we built a brand new casino. The old casino comes down this week. The new one opened just last week.
Yeah. So what's been the community reaction? Has the Rams taken over?
Well, remember right now they're playing in the Coliseum, and so you know we have let the Los Angeles city, borrow the team, and so it's been great for the LA region. But what it's done for Inglewood, there's such a great sense of pride. We're a Ram city now, and that's been the biggest change for us so far. Is the housing values. Before we were awarded the team, they increased 85% in Inglewood between 2012 and 2015. The difference being, since we've been awarded the franchise, is that when a property goes up listed for sale in Inglewood, there are usually 5 or 6 offers by the end of the day, all at $15,000 to $25,000 over the asking price. So housing values have continued to rise. We're experiencing our 5 lowest consecutive years of crime in the city of Inglewood in the history of recorded crime. And so that, combined with our investment in the infrastructure, streets, trees, sidewalks, water system, we think we're poised for when this stadium opens in 2019 to actually, that will be the kickoff for the total economic and revitalization of the city.
So let's speak of the economics. So what kind of an economic impact is forecasted into the future? Now you're in the process of laying the groundwork, preparing for that big day in 2020. What happened from 2020 forward?
Well, it's actually 2019 the stadium opens, and here's, in the macro, we expect that this is going to have, a multi-billion-dollar impact on the region over the next 10 years. But on a local level, our deal is structured different than any stadium arrangement in the history of football franchises. There's no public investment either in the private or the public parts of the infrastructure. The developer's paying for the public parks, the public streets, the water system connections, and that bill will probably aggregate to about $100 million. But the only time that the city pays towards that fronted money is in a year where we make more than $25 million in taxes from the totality of the development. So what does that mean? In a year where we get a $35 million boost in our general fund, we'll take $10 million and we'll pay it towards the money that was fronted for us. And the beautiful thing about that arrangement is that because the stadium is owned entirely by the developer and the Kroenke Group, as opposed to usually where they have a joint powers authority where the city's on the hook. Well, now upgrades are the responsibility of the developer, and there are no liens on city assets. So if there ever comes a time when there's not revenue derived from that development, the rest of the debt washes away. And so we conservatively expect during the construction phase to make $15 million, because the city of Inglewood would be the point of sale for all the construction materials for the stadium. And then after that, the estimates range from 25 to 42 million a year.
Okay. So you and I both serve on the Metro board.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, those are fun days.
Fun
at the Metro.
days.
So, are there any plans to bring public transit to the stadium? And I hope your answer is the same as mine.
Absolutely. We have a Metro station that was planned, as you know, probably over a decade ago, never believing that either the Forum or the racetrack would ever come back to an entertainment use. And so that's about 1.25 miles away from our entertainment core of the city. Now, there are different options. There are last mile systems, pod systems that could be elevated to bring people to the stadium. But our big push, and we have a study being done right now, is to see the feasibility of making a Y connector at Florence and Prairie that would go south and be grade separated, and have a station at the terminus being right there in the development. And it's estimated, one, that would have about a 30% impact on revenues, because you could get on a train in the valley, never change your seat, and end up right here in the heart of Inglewood.
I've been to Meadowlands in New York and New Jersey, and it's incredible. You get on a train downtown New York City and you wind up out there at the stadium. The train's just dead end right there.
Absolutely.
And they come back and they dead end right there, and you go back home. I mean, it's just amazing, and what a way to get in and out of games and eliminate traffic and the parking and all those other kind of issues. So I just hope that you're extremely successful in that, and that Metro stays with you throughout this process.
When you think about it, the purpose of the Metro board is to take cars off the road and increase ridership. And this one project has the potential to do just that. And so, we hope that Measure M passes, and we hope that there will be a public-private partnership that can make that happen.
Yeah, because the reality is that is not just building transit for football.
No.
That's for the entire venue, for an entire entertainment center, the city within a city.
Remember, it'll take cars off the street 365 days a year.
Exactly. So, a couple quick things before we have to wind up. How does it feel, to have a Super Bowl in your back pocket in 2021?
Think about this. Super Bowl in 2021. We're working on seeing if we can get a Final Four here between 2022 and 2023. And should LA get the nod for the World Games in 2024, we believe that the venue for the opening ceremonies will be in Inglewood, California. So, this is, when you say, how do I feel? Extremely satisfied that we have been able to actually resurrect a city that used to be the home of the three-peat Lakers. And what we say today is the only thing that's changed in Inglewood is everything.
That's great. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to join me, Mr. Mayor, but more importantly, your friendship and support over the years. And I wish you and the city of Inglewood and the Rams, it's great to have them back home. Been a Rams fan all my life. Used to make that trek up to the Coliseum to watch them, and so looking forward to the new stadium in Inglewood. So congratulations. I know from partnerships that it takes, you can talk a lot, but it takes some steady work and steady head and good integrity, and you have all those characteristics. And I know that you were a very important part of the Los Angeles Rams being in the city of Inglewood, the Los Angeles Rams in the city of Inglewood. How do you say now? Inglewood Rams?
Los Angeles Rams in Inglewood, California.
There you go. But anyway, congratulations and great job.
Right.
Appreciate it, my friend.
Appreciate you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Places, everybody.
Light check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Everything looks good on our end.
And lights.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Welcome back. My next guest is Jake By, Vice President of Consumer Sales and Marketing for your Los Angeles Rams. Jake joined the Rams in 2006 as a corporate sales manager. He now oversees all consumer revenue for the team, including retail, hospitality, ticketing, you name it. So I appreciate you joining me, Jake.
Very happy to be here. Thank you.
So you're one of those rarities probably in the Rams organization, born and raised in St. Louis. Is that correct?
I was.
And welcome to Los Angeles.
Thank you.
How's
Great
it-
to be here.
So that's a pretty big transition. We'll talk about the team, but you and your family too.
Yes, it
so,
is.
It's been a nice transition. We want to welcome you back. And, what's it like being part of, we all know the NFL. We watch it every week and the big-time football and everything. What's it like moving an entire NFL team across the country?
It is quite a process. I can tell you, you can't do things like over-communicate and over-prepare. As soon as you think you have the details covered, then something else comes your way. So, really it's been a learning experience for us. It's really galvanized the group that came, and the front office and the players as well. And I think just being part of something so historic and so meaningful, and seeing that firsthand from the people all throughout Los Angeles and the reception that we have received, it's really been tremendous.
Well, I mean, from my perspective anyway, as one who attended many, many Rams games over the years and in the Coliseum, I mean, it must be nice when you have all the intricacies of trying to move a team across the country. You're coming back to an area that's greeting you with open arms.
Yeah, no question. And, we had a pretty good idea that there was certainly an appetite for the NFL to return to LA, specifically for the Rams to return to Los Angeles. And what we've seen, I think, has really exceeded those expectations, not only just on Sundays, and that's that overwhelming fan support. Our players have enjoyed that immensely. They've really fed off of that, I think, and the home games have been special. But even when we're out in the community doing a service project, visiting a school, just having a conversation at the grocery store, when people see, the Rams logo on your shirt, and just their face lights up, and they're just enthralled to have us back.
Well, I know
It's
around
really
town,
neat.
I mean, no matter where I'm at, I mean, you're now seeing Rams shirts again that you
Everywhere.
haven't seen for
Everywhere.
20-some years. So
Yep.
we appreciate that. So was it a difficult adjustment for the players? I mean, the administration piece obviously seems, you coalesce back there sort of in St. Louis. Don't the players come from all over and putting everybody together, and that unknown of all the discussions back in St. Louis, are we, aren't we?
I think the unknown had its own set of challenges, and the players not knowing what the future held. Really, once January hit and we knew, okay, we're going to go back home, we're going to go to Los Angeles, the players were thrilled. They're coming back to a market that embraced this team for many years. Generations of fans remember the Rams in the 40s and 50s and all of those iconic players and moments, and so I think they understand that part. And really, a reality of the NFL is you relocate. You get traded, you sign your second, free agency contract, and you move markets. And so, for coaches, for players, it's really just part of that professional athletic life where you have to move markets sometimes. And so when you do that under these circumstances, I think the level of excitement was really unparalleled.
So even knowing that you're coming back to all these welcoming arms, welcome back Los Angeles Rams, you hosted a training camp in Irvine.
We did.
You had open headquarters in Thousand Oaks. Was that a strategy for the entire region? I'm just curious.
I think that's a fair assessment. And we started with our off-season activities in Oxnard, and now our offices are in the Conejo Valley. Our football is headquartered in Thousand Oaks at Cal Lutheran, and then we went all the way down to Orange County, as you mentioned, for training camp. And so LA is such a diverse, sprawling market, and really I think we would be remiss to focus, all of our efforts and all of our presence in one area. And we wanted to bring the Rams and the experience of what the NFL means to as many people as we could. And so, it was definitely strategic, I think, to do what we did and to be all over the region in this first year in particular.
So for someone that was involved in trying to bring the NFL football back a few years ago and meeting with the NFL owners, one of the things that we sort of faced here, and, particularly from a public perspective, a public life, is the fact that when you're out and around, they ask you for a lot of different things. But with the advent of, all the satellite and cable and everything else, that 20 years without a football team, everyone said, yeah, we want football back, but not at any cost. And so it's really, to me, I'm just curious, the challenges in a fan base. You have, in many cases, you have to create, but how are you nurturing that here in coming back?
It's a delicate balance because there are tremendous roots here in Los Angeles, and the Rams were Los Angeles' first original professional sports team. Right. So you have that level of history, and then you go 22 years. That's an entire generation of fans that grew up.
Maybe one or two generations.
One plus, and so they grew up without NFL football. And so during that window of time, the market still was very involved and very avid supporters of the NFL based on ratings and research, but they were developing affinities for other teams. And so it's our challenge to really come in and embrace our roots, embrace the fact that we have a rich history in this market, but be forward thinking and be innovative and determine what sort of team, what sort of organization we want to be for the entire Los Angeles community, develop new fans, and also while respecting and giving that nod to our history and our fans that stuck with us through 22 years, because there were several that did.
Oh yeah. So as you first, how about this question first? What about the gorgeous blue and yellow uniforms? We ever going to see them again?
Well, you're going to see them against the San Francisco 49ers at the Coliseum on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So we will wear them then. And over the coming years, the NFL has a program where you can wear your throwbacks, a couple times each season. So we'll continue to evaluate that. We'll listen to the fans and what they want, and we'll make a decision going forward as to what we look like on Sundays.
And one of the things too, just sort of an interesting side note, because I hear people talk about it. We had that experience, with the Oakland Raiders and Raiders here and things like that, and sort of a bad fan experience inside the realms of the Coliseum, and sort of started out that way a little rough, but I noticed that that's really important to the Los Angeles Rams, is the fan experience, that you can bring a family, that you're going to be safe there, that you're going to enjoy the game, you're going to be able to get through it without a lot of nastiness going on. And so you want to address that, because I think it's very important to the fans out there.
It is of critical importance to us, and we realized that very early on we were going to have a great relationship with USC and a great relationship with all of the entities that make game day a safe, fun experience, and it's LAPD and California Highway Patrol, everybody that we've been working with, and we realized that the first few games there were situations for some fans that by no means meet our standards of what we think a game day experience should look like, and so. Much credit, again, to the Coliseum and the USC, and we have been very responsive. I think there were a lot of tangible changes that happened, and fans saw from week to week, whether that was, how we programmed concession stands or adding more points of sale or adding more security on the perimeter, to make fans feel more comfortable with not only just when you're inside the stadium, but that experience starts when you park your car, when you approach
and get out of the car.
stadium.
Absolutely.
So we have to address that driveway-to-driveway experience, and I think we've improved there. By no means are we where we need to be, and we will constantly be evaluating that, because it's of critical importance to get people to come back.
A lot of the fans that I talk to really appreciate the way you addressed a lot of those issues up front and continue to work on them, and I think that's been a very important part. So as you sit there today, we got, what do you have, 2 seasons in the Coliseum?
We have we have 2 more beyond this, so we'll be 17 and 18 at the Coliseum, yes.
All right, so what are some of the exciting things that you're projecting into the new stadium? I assume in your role on the retail corporate sales side, that's on your plate as well.
It is.
You've got 3 seasons in the Coliseum, but next steps is really big.
Yeah, really everything, it's about Inglewood, and it's about opening the stadium in 2019 and really just transforming the entertainment landscape of Los Angeles. When we originally met with our architects, HKS, and we talked about this building and what we wanted it to be, it was really uniquely LA. We needed it to be an iconic building that you couldn't just put, in any market and know where it was. I mean, here you look at this building and you go, oh wow, that's Los Angeles, and it's got some really unique features. It sits down in the ground, almost 100 feet, so it really blends into the landscape of the rest of the
I just had the mayor on the show, and you got a big hole digging coming up November 17th.
We do. In a couple weeks, everything will be official. I mean, we feel like we've, of course, been working on this project for years and years, but that's really a day that will be very ceremonial. It's going to be very emotional and meaningful, I think, for our group, because that's when this project comes to life and it's a reality. And the fact that this is a building that truly is the first indoor-outdoor stadium that's ever been built, let alone conceived, and I think what fans are going to see as this literally rises out of the ground and comes to life, they're going to be blown away. And it's really a hallmark for LA as well, just with the location and the proximity to LAX and the fact that millions and millions of travelers, the last thing they'll see coming into Los Angeles is this development anchored by this world-class stadium.
So everybody goes to Dallas to see Jerry's house. Now it's going to be coming to LA to see Stan's house, right?
That moniker will probably get a little bit of life.
It's really interesting when you say that, because one of the original arguments against putting a stadium in Inglewood area and by Hollywood Park was the flight patterns, similar to what they ran into with the Jets back in New York. But obviously with technology and the things you can do now, that's changed dramatically. And so it's really exciting because I always felt it was a great location. I was always concerned about downtown because there's downtown and you get there and at least you're going to have some room out in Inglewood, correct?
We are in 300 acres, and it's mixed-use development. There'll be retail, there'll be office spaces, potentially residential down the road, tons of park space. That's a really unique aspect of Hollywood Park and its history, and it's sort of served as the hub, the meeting grounds for Inglewood and for LA and these massive events for so many years. So to preserve that location directly adjacent to the Forum and all of the history that has gone into that building as well, it's pretty special.
Yeah, and then one thing that Mayor Butts and I both sit on Metro, and obviously working very hard to make that a destination point as it relates to rail opportunities similar to what they have in New York at the Meadowlands, and where you have dead-end trains right in there and dead-end trains right back home. I mean, it's an incredible experience there in New York to be able to do that and not have to get in your car or worry about it and go back and forth and jive a little bit with the folks on the train. And
it is.
It's part of the fan experience.
No question. It's a critical part of even what's happening at the Coliseum and the ridership that we've seen and the increase.
The expo line is just, our numbers are just
been
through
amazing.
the roof.
And if and coming fresh off the plane from London 2 days ago and spending a week there and just all of the world class cities that you think of right off the top of the bat, they all have that common thread of a public transportation system that's safe and efficient, sprawling, and I think as Los Angeles continues to put resources into that, it's only going to enhance the experience on game days and event days for our campus as well.
So the Rams started strong, ran into a couple little issues there, had a little problem in the end zone.
Such as life sometimes. Yes, yes.
So how do you think that impact? I mean, there's such joy in the region. I mean, it's not just an LA thing, but in the region about having the Rams back. So I mean, will it be a one-year honeymoon, or are the results going to be on the field, or the results going to be in the community support ongoing?
Well, I think, you'd be remiss to say this is a results-based business. It is, and you're evaluated by your win-loss record every year. Players are, coaches are, the organization is. So we need to win football games, and we feel like we're making tremendous progress. We've got, the youngest roster in the NFL. We've got back-to-back, rookies of the year with Todd Gurley and Aaron Donald. A lot of these superstar players that we have locked up for a long time, and they will become
number one draft pick.
And the number one draft pick waiting in the wings. So, with all of those keys in place, you really you want to see progress week to week, and we feel like that we're seeing that, and we expect the wins to follow. But to your second point, our primary goal is to win 365 days a year in the community. And it truly is our focus. And when you win there and you make a difference to this region, we take that responsibility very seriously. And that's where our focus is. And incidentally, I'm leaving here today to go to the LA Food Bank with the rest of our staff to do our monthly service project. It's just one of the many things that really drive this organization to be better and to thrive in Los Angeles.
I don't think you were officially in Los Angeles more than a couple days, and you and your team and the Rams have been out in the community in many, many places that a lot of us get around to, and really appreciate the fact that the Rams, not only now, but are going to continue to be such great corporate citizens, so we appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
Jake Bye, Vice President, your Los Angeles Rams. Thank you.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
Thank you again for tuning in to Dialed In. I wanted to thank my guest, Inglewood Mayor James Butts and Jake Bye from the Los Angeles Rams. After a 20-year hiatus, football is officially back here in Los Angeles where it belongs. With the season underway and a future Super Bowl on the horizon, it's an exciting time for our region. So no matter what team you root for, I hope you'll make some room in your heart for the blue and gold Los Angeles Rams. Thank you again for tuning in to Dialed In. We'll be back next month with an all-new show.